feeling like I'm Akademiks.
We weren't told who was an alternate, who was the main juror until literally the last second when they were reading when the judge was reading his entire statement at the end. It was like, the first 12 of you are the jurors, the last 5 are the alternates. So we didn't know, even in the jury room, no one treated everyone, we all were equal because we didn't know who was who.
Would you have acquitted him on RICO?
I think reading all my notes and looking back at the evidence, I probably would have reached the same conclusion as the other jurors.
What was it about that charge?
I don't, the thing with because we were asked and the judge had instructed us that we have to find him guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. Mm-hmm. And I think there was always a little bit of doubt in people's mind. And I think it was a tough case to prove, especially the first one. And there was always a little bit of doubt there, even from the beginning.
Why did you doubt?
I think some of the charges, some of the witnesses, if you look at it one way, but then when you were listening to the defense, you could see it their way as well.
Were there any witnesses that made you think, I don't believe this?
There was one that I think unanimously we kind of all said like, wow, like it was almost like watching like TV. Mm. It was like like when I think her name was Dawn Richard, that one. Mm-hmm. When she on cross-examination, I mean, I never saw such a cross-examination. It was very impressive to watch.
What was it about it?
I think just how the defense got into her and really made her look very not credible. I mean, I even wrote in my notebook that it was like a takedown.
Really? Yeah. And that was pretty early on.
That was pretty early on.
From the opening statements, did you have a mindset of who you thought had a better case?
No. I think overall, from the way I look at it, both sides presented really good. Both sides presented themselves well. We were very impressed with the prosecution and the defense, how they, the professionalism, how they carried themselves. I mean, it was really good lawyering, as they say.
Racketeering is notoriously a complex case. Did you feel that the prosecution presented enough evidence to support that there was even an enterprise?
I think they did the best that they could. But I think it was a tough case to prove.
Why?
I mean, when you look at the charges, kidnapping, arson, forced labor, the government had one side, but then the defense, they had some pretty good rebuttals to it. So I mean that I think added some doubt always, and I think in people's mind.
You didn't hear from some of the people the government said were co-conspirators, like employees.
Like Christina Karam and
example, or D-Rock.
Yeah.
Did that affect your thoughts about the case?
I don't think so, no.
Would you have wanted to hear from them?
We always thought that maybe we would hear from them, but maybe we also understood maybe why they wouldn't be called.
Why?
Because maybe they didn't want to testify, or they wouldn't really be proving the case, or maybe it would be not advantageous to be called. So, but honestly, we were just waiting till the end, until when the judge gave his instructions and how to interpret the law. Because I think everyone really didn't have anything made up, their mind made up, or in any way. It was really, everyone was waiting to see how, the definitions and how everything was going to be interpreted and what they were to be looked at. Exactly.
So important.
Yeah.
Talk to me about the sex trafficking cases, because of court charges. Obviously, Cassie Ventura testified visibly pregnant for days.
Yes.
How did her testimony impact you in your understanding of the case?
It did. We listened very intently. It was, I think, 5 days or forever of thing. And, it was very riveting. And it was very riveting testimony and very credible testimony.
You believed her?
I mean, I think we did. I think we did. I mean, she wouldn't have done all this just to come up there and lie about everything. So no, I don't think even the defense didn't come out and say or anything like that.
Did the money that they talked about in terms of a civil settlement she received, did that color her testimony for you at all?
I don't think so, no. I don't think so, no.
Did you look at the defendant, Diddy Combs, differently after her testimony?
No, I didn't really look at him too much. I mean, I always looked at him because my point of view was just literally at him, like some people are on the side, but I was more in the corner. So I was always like staring at him, but I don't think he was mostly just very composed and talking with his lawyers and very in control. It seemed like, because I think I'm not really familiar too much with cases and I don't really follow cases in court, so I don't know how defendants usually act. But sometimes what I've heard in from the news is that some defendants, they just sit very stoically. They don't interact with their lawyers. They just let their lawyers talk and go. But he was very, talking with them, writing notes, doing that. So you could tell that he was fighting for himself.
You saw some very graphic images, videos. You heard very sexual and graphic details. What was that like, hearing that? And how did it impact how you viewed the case?
No, they were very graphic, and but I think overall, we were looking at it from like one side, and it was definitely riveting and eye-opening.
What did you see on the videos? The press wasn't able to see it in real time.
Yeah. No, I mean, they were showing some of there was both the freak-offs and hotel nights, as they were called, from both of them. But it was...
what did they show in those videos?
They showed, again, the defense and the prosecution showed different clips, so they were very selective. Like the prosecution was showing more, just Cassie just sitting around.
The defense showed that?
Defense showed that, yeah.
Just her sitting around not engaging in sexual activity?
Yes.
For the prosecution, when you had to have your headphones on and otherwise, what were you seeing then?
Did she just switch up his words? He said the prosecution would show Cassie sitting around, more trying to do state of mind, obviously not trying to show her in the act where she's getting pulverized by some random big dick Negro and she's fucking squirting over his shit and having the time of her life. That I get it, There
was sexual activity, but I mean it wasn't really.
Was it forced?
No, it didn't. It didn't seem forced. It was actually pretty tame.
Really?
Yeah.
Did she?
It was just a lot of rubbing oil and stuff on there. It was.
It's funny. I feel like CNN brought this nigga on there for him to be like, "Yo, it was wild." Him saying this, I feel like they're almost disappointed.
And it wasn't anything too graphic. I would say.
Let me ask you. This jury that deliberated did not find sex trafficking when it came to Cassie Ventura. They also didn't find it when it came to Jane. And I want to ask you about Jane in a moment. But did it surprise you when it came to Cassie Ventura that they did not convict on sex trafficking?
No, I don't. I think it was a difficult thing to prove, and I think there was always some doubt, whether because I think what the judge says, it has to be forced. And I think the defense did show some messages where it didn't seem that it was forced.
Oh, her text messages when she talked about it.
Yeah.
That was really important to you to consider.
I think that was one aspect. Yes.
Did that make you feel that it was consensual?
It did seem like it. Yeah.
Talk to me about Jane.
Even in the videos and everything seemed very consensual.
Really?
Yeah.
Throw the case out, man. Throw the case out. Chat, my new theory on this whole case is that Cassie done fucked up. Here's the thing. Diddy gonna be locked up possibly for a year or two. Okay, even though I thought he was going to get out possibly immediately, I didn't really think that. I said by Christmas. I keep saying by Christmas. It's more than likely because I think this Judge Submaranian, is a give and take judge. He has to set he can't be seen as the weak judge where because you beat a charge or two, you get a lenient sentence. You walk out of court with time served. Like it was a slap on the wrist. He's going to have to give Diddy a year. In October, he's going to have to give him a year. Or I think what he's going to do, he's going to try to give him 2 years. This is why. It's really going to be like a year, but then Diddy goes to a halfway house, he'll be back. But what it does for the judge is not make him look like a complete pussy. A guy who is starstruck, a guy who doesn't take crimes against women serious, a guy who sat through a very lengthy trial that was brought to you by the SDNY, and he saw the video that everybody's seen, and he still gave someone time served. So I think he's going to give him a year or two, honestly. Okay? Diddy will still be out in a year, though. Then he'll go to a halfway house because you usually go to a halfway house about like 6 months before. Here's my thing, and this is why I say Cassie, I think, fucked herself. Diddy's going to be he's going to be in the winds or out of commission for the next year or so, right? You know what the verdict read? And I know there's a lot of people, fuck all your tears, okay? We've been talking facts since the beginning. We're going to talk facts now. We ain't going to get emotional now. We were talking facts since the beginning. We're going to talk facts now. The reality of all of this is this. The judge's verdict basically said, not judge's verdict, the jury's verdict means that they didn't find that any of the sexual behavior that was depicted in these freak-offs were non-consensual. They didn't find it was forced. They didn't find that no one was coerced or no one got frauded into doing these things. They said these were a bunch that did this on their own accord. Now, I'm going to tell you why this is important. Because while Diddy is going to be spending the next year or so trying to get home, what it signals is that the only thing, if no one was forced, and they have now proven that they don't believe Cassie or Jane was forced, the only people who could still claim that maybe they weren't with it are the sex workers. Because if you don't know count 3 and count 5, count 3 says the transportation for the purpose of prostitution of Cassie Ventura and others. The others were the prostitutes she fucked. If she's a victim per that conviction, the prostitutes are a victim as well. Here's the problem. Cassie went on a stand and said she got $20 million. And she's, in the eyes of this criminal trial, she was a prostitute or got prostituted just like Jules, just like everybody else. Here's the reality of it, and we're going to see the video because somebody already started. You think all them sex workers going to sit by while Cassie gets $30 million and they get nothing? They're all about to sue Cassie and Diddy. Now that it has cleared Cassie of being able to say, I was coerced, I didn't do anything. Now, she could still say she's a victim because it says she got prostituted. But it doesn't say that she was an unwilling participant. She didn't get sex trafficked. So her getting all that bread, the prostitutes got prostituted. It is more than likely that we will start seeing lawsuits against Cassie for the first time. And by the way, we have. I'll get to that later. Let me keep playing this alternate juror explanation of his perspective of the trial.
How about with Jane? Obviously, she testified for several days, very emotional at times.
It was, yeah.
What did you think of her credibility? Did you believe her?
I think it was very again riveting, long testimony, and I think. I mean, I did believe her, at least on some parts. Some parts were a little bit didn't add up as much. Seemed a little strange.
What part seemed strange to you?
Oh, this is the Jane part.
One part for me that seemed a little strange was the night, I think, when Jane was in, when they had the fight.
Yeah.
It just, the timing seemed a little like you going from like one closet to another closet to it just, something didn't add up there.
How about the impact when you heard that her rent was being paid or her lawyer is being paid by the defendant? Did that surprise you?
That was surprising, yeah, and it was still being paid.
What did you think when you heard that?
Wow, it was surprising.
I want to ask you as well about, I mean, obviously I'm talking about Diddy as if I know him. Like we know his name because he's, this very famous person. Did the fact that he was so famous, did that impact you in any way? Did you know him?
No, I did not know him.
Did you know his music at all?
No, I didn't really listen to his music.
So seeing him was just a stranger?
Pretty much. I mean, I know of him, and I know, but I don't really follow his music or the rap industry in general. So that might have been why I think a lot of the jurors, I think if you look at their backgrounds, I don't think they were, they didn't follow this or that. I mean, that's probably why they were chosen. I was never expected to be chosen, to be honest.
Yeah? Well,
I wasn't even looking for this at all.
Who would be,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
But let me ask you, the other jurors, when you would talk to them, I know you weren't allowed to deliberate at all.
Emmy Lifestyle, thank you for the 5. It says happy 4th, chat.
But when you talked to them, were they familiar with who he was? Did his celebrity status seem to impact them at all?
No, I don't think so, no. I think everyone was really waiting for the interpretation of the law. And
is that because you were confused about the case or because you just wanted to know your marching orders?
I think we wanted to know our marching orders and how we need to look at everything. I think we were really, I think, at least for me, we want to be, and we are asked to be as impartial as possible. So we needed to know, you hear both sides of, one side, the other side, and it's very important to know what we're actually supposed to be, ruling at and how we're supposed to be looking at it from the judge.
There was a juror who was excused close to the end of the trial. What did you know about that and why?
We weren't told, what happened. I mean, I think someone had mentioned that it was, I think he lied about where he was from or something like that. But really, we were kind of kept in like isolation from like the whole day. Not really told much, told to not, follow any news or turn off everything. Don't talk to anyone. Don't talk among yourselves about the case, which we followed. We really followed the judge's instructions. At least I did too.
So when that
person,
person,
myself,
when that person was no longer in the chair after seeing them there for 7 weeks on end, or however many weeks it was in at that point, did you think it was odd? Did you have concerns?
No. I mean, that's why they have, they call 18 people, because then they knew it was a long case, and there's probably going to be someone's going to get sick or someone's going to drop out. So that's why. So,
would you have wanted to hear Diddy testify? Would it have made a difference to you?
I don't think so, no. I don't think so.
It wouldn't have made a difference because it wouldn't have added to your understanding, or because you'd heard enough?
I think we heard enough. I don't know if it would have helped or hindered. I haven't really thought about that as much.
Yeah.
But I think it was really helpful, again, in the end, at least for what we were looking forward to, what I was looking forward to the most, was just the 61-page judge instructions of how we're supposed to be charged the law.
They did find him guilty of those transportation to engage in prostitution charges. The prosecution was being very sarcastic and laughing at the idea that these men were just being paid for their time. How did you see that statement?
You mean the defense?
Mm-hmm. Well, the prosecution said that, well, yes, you're right. The defense said that they were being paid for the time. The prosecution was mocking that. Who did you believe?
No, I think the evidence to show that there was the transportation of prostitution, I think was overwhelming, and that's why the jury found him guilty on those two counts.
If you had been,
Because the prosecution not only they showed the hotel records, the bank records, the flight information. For that, I think that they proved their case beyond a reasonable doubt.
if for some reason you were to ever talk to Diddy, what would you tell him about how you saw this trial?
To be honest, I really wouldn't want to.
Okay, so he basically says he doesn't. So here's the interesting part, chat. You know, it's one of them things where, like, if you win the lottery, you rather not tell people you got the money because everybody comes out the woodworks because they know you got money. So essentially, what happened is that everybody's like, Cassie deserved the $20 million. She went through a lot. A lot of niggas did this to her. She was fucking 5 guys a night. She deserves it because Diddy victimized her. He beat her ass. Blah blah. What this court case actually did, and you know, going back to the conversation, if you guys watched when I was sitting with Lauren Conlon, but also Unc. And they were debating, and, you know, the debate consistently for 2 nights in a row was, A, Cassie was not subpoenaed. She's here on her own recognizance. Now, the idea that Cassie was due to get $30 million, but she was testifying willingly, seemed like, okay, no, she's just trying to get justice, except we forget the nature of the case. This was the case that a lot of people said initially when there was a leak of the hotel video. We said maybe Cassie's team did it. Why? To prove and promote that she is not a co-conspirator. She was the victim. And if we heard that Cassie was the one who majority paid these sex workers, she participated, she solicited them, she continued conversations with them outside of even that act behind Diddy's back, it's probably feasible to be like, wait, both of these motherfuckers are actually co-conspirators, meaning Cassie and Diddy. Well, it's kind of come to pass at this point where Diddy's going to jail, or he is in jail, and he's going to stay in jail for a little bit longer. Not too long, but a little bit longer. People have realized this verdict has now said openly, Cassie is not a victim of sex trafficking. She's not a victim of racketeering. She's a victim of prostitution, but so is all the sex workers. And I think everybody who's a sex worker is sitting back and saying, why does Cassie get to bust down that $20 million by herself? Why I ain't getting a piece? If I sue Diddy, it's going to take a long time until he's locked up. I need to go get it from Cassie. And you get to realize what all of this really was. It's a money grab from the beginning. The prostitutes just didn't know how they could have got their money. You know why? They were scared of prosecution because they're actually prostitutes. This decision has now opened Cassie to so much litigation, and this is why I have to say her attorney must have foresaw this. And I wonder, why the fuck would you put your client on the stand willingly if now the jury doesn't agree with her stance as the victim of sex trafficking? They claim she's just a prostitute. Anyway. What happened was, and
Doug,
sorry, we're gonna get to this is our lawyer who did speak, but we want to get to a sex worker named Dave who is suing. Dave sues Cassie.